My name is Adam Kring. I'm a customer account manager in Sheridan Versailles. Sheridan Incorporated is part of the CJK group. Within CJK, Sheridan specializes mainly in books. So here in Versailles, we produce a wide variety of books, everything ranging from mass market size novels to oversized teacher editions and everything in between. So I graduated from Woodford County, went and spent a year at Transylvania, then I went and spent a year at UK, then I went to Western for a while, then I halted school for a number of years and worked, including restaurant management, and finally went back, finished, and kind of ended up here. So originally a friend told me that there was a position available as an assistant within customer service. This was about 9 years ago. So I filled out an application, turned the application in. I then at the time interviewed for the assistant position. Ironically, I was not hired for the assistant position. I was instead hired into our billing department right off the bat to process invoices instead. Lasted there about 6 months, and then the customer service manager at the time tapped me on the shoulder about going into account management, and here I am 9 years later. And that's a little distracting. It's a very busy time of year right now. Most of our positions are hired straight into production, and with training you can move up, absolutely.
Are you happy with where you are right now?
I am. There's been numerous people in the past that have spent 40 years doing account management and retire straight from there. So we'll see where time goes. So teachers at Woodford. I finally remember James Chapel Maston III. I had him for AP Calculus. I don't know if Matt Merrill still did his rendition of Jimi Hendrix's rendition of the Star Spangled Banner on the kazoo, but that was always a sight to behold. As with most things these days, most everything is driven online, so you can go to Sheridan.com and connect to links for application processes from there. You can also contact our HR manager. That's Gail Binkovic at Sheridan.com. These days, a lot more of the application processes, well, for everything, is online these days. There is absolutely a safety orientation process for production employees, yes. I can't speak to it as much personally being part of admin, but I have seen the groups go through. There is a training process, 60, 90-day checkups, that sort of thing. The very short answer is Sheridan Versailles makes books. The much more involved answer is the customer in our case is not generally a single person, though there are authors out there that will contract to get their book produced. But in our case, generally a customer is going to be a publishing company. So they would contact our field sales office and say, I have this project that I want to produce. Our field sales office would then get with estimating, who would get a quote for the project. From there, especially within Sheridan, we would take a look at the specs of the book. You know, what size is it? Does it print 1 color? Does it print 4 color? And we would decide which plant was the best fit for that product. Here in Versailles, we honestly do a little bit of everything. We have 1 color press, well, 2 color technically. And we have numerous 4-color presses. We have 2 state-of-the-art, very large web offset presses. We also have 5 smaller digital web presses made by HP. And once a project was quoted through sales and estimating, the plant was selected where it should run. The order would then be taken to the customer service department, and the order would be placed within the plant. Customer service would then be responsible for coordinating with scheduling and purchasing. You've got to get with scheduling to make sure everything is running on time. You have to get with purchasing to make sure all the materials needed to produce the books are ordered. And then you also have to communicate with the end customer to make sure they know what's going on. So I have done projects before directly for an author, and it's very interesting when That person has lovingly created their book and they need to make sure that it gets done. So authors will contact us directly on occasion, and after they've gone through sales, and it's a one-on-one. The author is in direct contact with their customer service manager, and it really adds to a small town feeling for it. I've done books for authors in North Carolina. I have participated in an annual directory for one of the Olympic sports. Here in Versailles, we also on occasion have done titles that were bestsellers or parts of best-selling series, well-known science fiction and fantasy series. And those titles are actually kept under lock and key, literally within the plant. And the title would only be known to people that were allowed to know the title. The general process on the offset side, so offset printing, you take the files. From the files of your book, you actually have to make plates that go onto the press, and then those plates are used in the printing process. The digital web presses, in comparison, can take files directly to the press, making them, and the press room will kill me for saying this, but making them in many ways no different from a printer you have at your house. Granted, they are much bigger, much fancier, but it still takes the files directly and spits out pages. So the difference between a web and a sheet-fed press are the type of paper that go into them. So a web press takes varying sizes of rolls of paper and webs it through the press to print pages. A sheet-fed press is more like your printer at home. It takes literal sheets of paper to print. So from receipt of file, the customer account manager would have to get with prepress to ensure that the files match up with the specs that we were given. If the project was digital, we could then go straight from the digital files to print. Once the pages are off press, we could take that book block and go straight to the bindery to bind the books. If the project were offset, what we would have to do is take the files, then make plates, then go to press. One big difference between offset and digital printing is also what is delivered off of press. An offset web press delivers individual SIGs, which would be a group of 16, 32, 64 pages, something like that. But a digital web press actually has the capability of delivering an entire book block, meaning the entire content, pages 1 through 800, are delivered as a single unit. On the offset, the press delivers individual SIGs that would then have to be gathered. So a SIG on a web press is they take a single gigantic piece of paper and it gets folded down numerous times into a group of pages, be it 64 pages, 32 pages, 16 pages all together, but it's just that small section. Versus off the digital web press, it delivers the entire book block, which could be comprised of 50 different SIGs, but they're delivered at one time. So our bindery would then take whatever pages were printed, gather it into a book block, and bind it from there. After binding, we would place the books into cartons to be delivered generally to warehouses, though actually I am coordinating a shipment going directly to an author's house that's leaving today. So, and the books would end up going out a shipping dock much like the one that we're sitting on. At this point in time, generally speaking, our entry-level positions are mainly in manufacturing. They start at $15 an hour, generally speaking. There are 401k, health insurance, dental, retirement. There are all those options available to all full-time employees. But just because you start in one point in manufacturing doesn't mean that you can't go to another point. It also doesn't mean that you can't go into administration if you did so choose. We actually have several people at this point in our customer service department that did start in manufacturing. So there are many opportunities available within the company. There have been also opportunities in the past to move even to a different location within the company. Call me a nerd, but I really enjoy working someplace that makes books. The people obviously are great. CJK company itself is smaller. It's privately held. While it is a big company, it doesn't feel like a big company in a good way. It has a very close-knit feel to it. Within Versailles, obviously there are people that have worked here for 40, 50 years, retire from here. We are basically a family.